Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics. What a weekend.
Absolutely.
Or, well, long weekend, I guess, but...
Week. We had a whole week of biathlon.
Yeah. But how would you summarize it in a few words?
It was entertaining. I think it was entertaining. And I don't mean that to be like a pejorative or a negative thing. Like, I mean that to be a completely positive thing, in that every time I sat down and watched a race, like, there was something really awesome that happened, and I just had a great time from start to finish.
Yeah, there were a lot of surprises, a lot of I don't know, a lot of happiness, because there was good positive stories in pretty much every race.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah,
not for everybody, but yeah, just a lot of feel good activities or events, I guess.
I totally agree. It was it almost seemed like every race there was an athlete that you could just imagine the whole biathlon family rallying behind and trying to to cheer them on and urge them to a high finish. We got a lot of those, and we'll go through them all. But yeah, I totally agree. It was surprising and entertaining, and I have
it
said
felt
this
different than previous years.
In what way?
In the sense that it was just way more open, I guess. Yeah, not your standard names all the time, and a lot of names that of course are not new, but just surprising names at the top, and also some new names. Rundby from Norway comes to mind. I vaguely remember seeing the name before because I think it's a cool first name. But man, it was one of so many. Like, I have this whole list of people that had awesome performances for their expectation or standards, or and then there's still a lot of the well-known names that also had really good results. So yeah, it was just a really good mix of new and standard, and I don't know. I just like it. Yeah, I totally agree. Entertaining every race was entertaining, and I think a lot of races were, pretty close for a long time. So yeah, it was highly enjoyable.
A lot of races that weren't decided until much later, and I think credit where it's due. That at least this weekend, the weather allowed the new starting list, the way it's set up, to actually work really well, so that you had, some early starters put up some good times, and then you had the big names like the favorites coming, about halfway, 2/3 into the race. So it really felt like for long periods of time that, somebody else might come up there. I don't know if that will always be the case because of the, tracks, but this week the weather was perfect for it, and it worked out really well.
And I also, there was a bit of a concern of people, checking in later than the start time. And I'm sure there are people like that. But there's strong names even in the top 15, because, well, I mean, it's a bit different now at the start of the season because they look at the total score standings, and with only a couple of races done, there's
still going to be strong names up there, though, right?
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
not everybody
I remember there was one race with
extremely well.
Yeah, and Emma Lunder, I think, was fourth starter at some point, and I remember Lisa Hauser was early in the race at some point. So I mean, I think for the biathlon fan who's more into it than just popping on a TV every now and then, I think it's still very interesting to be there right from the start.
Yeah, and actually, so this leads in perfectly, or it actually combines a couple things perfectly, because you mentioned sort of those surprises, some of those names. and that you don't always expect to see. And one of those was Ella Halvorsen, who we talked about a little bit last week after her great performance in the single mixed. And in the short individual, she was what I think bib like 4 or something like that to start it off, and she went out there and put up this incredible time. And so it was like this really cool moment, and you could sort of feel if you were on social media at the time, like, you know, and even like listening to Chad and the other woman whose name escapes me at the moment, like their excitement as the race went on, being like, hey, look, she's doing it. Like these are real times. Yeah. Like this is a real thing happening. And it was really neat to have her out so far ahead of everybody else, because she sort of had that spotlight for a bit in the race. And then you got to watch all these big names try to chase down that time that she was put up. And of course, Jean Monod ended up doing it because she's incredible. But it was just it was really neat. And it sort of set the tone for, you know, it seemed like the second half of the week in Kontiolahti. You know, obviously that race was very, very fun, but that was just one example of how that worked out.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll dive into it later, but, you know, with the local hero starting with bib number 1 and doing really well, that got the crowd going too, right?
No kidding. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it was. I think that's kind of like one of the big things. Just the new start list, we got to see it work out, and it really worked out. We got to see some really fun names early on, kind of fire up the crowd, fire up the race. Yeah, all in all, so far, it's only been 1 week. I would call it a success.
So is this all the race we've seen so far is considered World Cup 1? Is that right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Because I remember, I think that was the COVID year that they did, 2 World Cups in one location just to reduce the traveling. So, but this was not like that.
Yeah. All World Cup 1. Whereas the IBU Cup has now had 2 weeks of competition.
Okay. Yeah, I was planning on looking into that, but I didn't really get to that. But
well, good thing. Here I am for you. But we'll save that. We'll save that until the end. One of the other big things that and this is, you know, certainly not even necessarily having a lot to do with the racing, but one of the things is just the number of women who have already, you know, from the top 5 or 6 from last year, or maybe even more, who have shown themselves to be a little bit more vulnerable. Obviously, front of mind is Ingrid Tandrevold and her heart condition, and she didn't race today, not racing Hochfilzen. Maybe she'll be back for Annecy, but maybe she'll be back later in the year. And that's obviously,
without getting super technical, but can you, because I must admit, when I hear hard things, my initial thought is, why is she still racing? This was the third time now it happened. Yeah. But then you kind of explained it to me that it's, you know, manageable.
Yeah.
But so, from a medical perspective, it's...
From everything I know, and I could be wrong, right? I haven't seen an official diagnosis put other than just tachycardia. But from what I have seen and what she has said, and just kind of reading between the lines, I think she has something called supraventricular tachycardia, which is a little bit different than atrial fibrillation. And I've seen that thrown around. Atrial fibrillation is a little bit more dangerous. Supraventricular tachycardia often happens because there's this weird signaling that happens in the part of the heart that starts the electrical signal, and it gets caught in a feedback loop, and the heart starts beating too fast. And for big stretches of time, you will not be in it at all, except things can trigger it. And she's apparently been doing a very good job of keeping it well controlled, except, you know, last season, didn't hear about it at all. This season, we've already seen it twice. So it can get worse over time. So my suspicion is that it is just going from what's called paroxysmal, which is intermittent, to permanent, which is not great. And there are different kind of treatments you would have to do. Now, the problem for her is that a lot of the medications you would normally put her on are not legal as far for racing at a high level. They're not approved through WADA. So and some of them you wouldn't even want to be on as a high performance athlete, because they would sort of cap your performance potential. But
Right.
So I'm curious to see what they really do. What it looked like she was doing as she was racing was something called a vasovagal maneuver. And if you want to know what that is, like just imagine you are on the toilet trying to have a big poop and you're really trying to force it out. It's that is exactly what it is. And that triggers the vagus nerve, which calms down your heart rate, long story short. So it looks like she was trying to do that on the course, and it wasn't really working. And the next step after that, of course, is medication. So I think they have to decide at this point what medication, if any, they're going to put her on. And then the other option, I mean, I don't know, there's an option for an ablation, but that would have to happen off season. Again, I just want to reiterate for like the third time, I haven't seen anything official. I don't know anything about her medically. This is just me reading between the lines and watching and seeing what I've seen and having a decade plus of medical experience and taking care of patients like that. So I think that's what's going on. And long term, I mean, she should be totally fine as far as a human being. Should not affect her long term livelihood, her life, or anything like that. It could, I mean, I guess we'll see, but it could definitely shorten her career. So fingers crossed that's not the direction we're going.
And you know, I mean, her health is obviously the main concern, but it's, you know, the number 1 and 3 of the season out with injuries. We had Simon already struggling with cramps. Now that could be just a local or you know, weird timing thing, but I wonder if last season still took a toll, or it could just be coincidence, of course. But
and in that calf, we know she has a previous injury from a number of years ago.
Right. Yeah.
It looked today like she was doing a bit better, so hopefully this is something that she is going to be able to recover from. I would throw in Justine Brissabuchet as somebody who, like, she's had some definite shooting regression. Again, it's only been 1 week, but has not shot nearly as well this year as she did last year, looking more like she did a couple of years ago, where it was much more boom or bust.
Up and down.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, she very well could come out next week, win 2 races, and, you know, she's off to the races.
Yeah.
You know, but that she also doesn't look to be, you know, as strong as she was last year. So openings at the top for anybody who is strong enough to go up and grab it. Yeah,
and you know, that's with the surprising results. I mean, I was texting you, I think after the short individual when Jean Monod won. Is this the last? What did I say? Is this the last female we'll see in yellow?
Yeah,
and of course, it was 1 race in, but it could have happened.
It could have
been
though. Yeah,
and of course it's already swapped. But she looked super strong. Later, she was still strong, but she didn't look as convincing today. But do you know? Is it just me, or is it a new thing that they don't put bib numbers on the yellow jersey anymore?
Yeah, I don't know. I noticed that too, and I thought maybe I was just misremembering, but I'm glad that that stood out as looking strange to you as well. That I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah, and I mean, they still have the bib numbers on their legs and stuff, so
yeah,
in that sense, it's also not a big issue. But just thought it looked weird.
It did. It looks like an odd jersey right now. Just it looks sort of.
And I don't recall if the red and the blue had numbers or not actually, but
I'd have to go back and watch. But the yellow just stands out as it's supposed to. It stands out so much, and I was like, that just kind of looks odd. But
yeah.
I didn't think too much of it.
I must say that yellow bib looks really, really good with the Swedish outfit, eh?
Oh yeah, like those colors go together.
It's it's almost that they just stole the hex code of the color and just like, let's just adjust our suit so it matches well.
It really looks good. And man, the way Elvira looks right now, I mean, she could wear that yellow for a long time.
Yeah. We'll have to see if she has her. She has her typical fast start. We'll have to see if she has her typical kind of fade a little bit later. But
I texted you today, like, she looks so fast that it almost looks unsustainable. Like, it is outrageously fast. So for example, today in the mass start, she lost. So she and Simone lost, or both had. They both had 2 misses. Elvira lost 30 seconds in shooting time to Simone and won the race by 16 seconds. So it's just like, and Simone, like, obviously has the injury, but is not a slow skier at all. Like, this is, we're not talking about like a snail. That's just, it is an impossibly fast start. I don't know how you keep anything up like that. But then we've seen Johannes Tingesbo do this for how many years now? Just be outrageously fast. So I don't know. Maybe she can. But
also keep in mind that Oberg wasn't pushing the last couple hundred meters because it was pretty much in the bag. So much. Yeah.
They came off the range for that last lap, and it just looked like almost a professional and somebody who was like a really good amateur. Just the speed differential. I mean, Elvira just ate up the course. I don't know. It just
yeah. You could also you saw certain sections where she, and I don't know, for those who listen from the States or other places, in Canada, they call it V1, V2.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, when they do when they push off with the poles, they also push off with a leg.
Yeah.
So for every leg push, they also use their poles. And that's hard to do when the uphills get steeper. And she just kept going in V1. And you saw Simone in the background switching, and all the others were switching. And I mean, that's a sign of just feeling really strong and being in really good shape.
She was just, man. I mean, just go back and look. I'm sorry. I have the numbers right in front of me. The races, and you look at how. I mean, just look at the top fives, and so for the short individual, Jean Monod, no misses, and then Halverson 1 miss, Elvira 3 misses, and then it's 0, 2, 1, 2, 0, 1, 1. You have to go down. You have to go down to number 25, Hanna Oberg, to find the next person with 3 misses.
That's crazy.
In the sprint, Davidova is clean, and Elvira has 2 misses. And you have to go down to 14th place, where you find Justine, who had 2 misses. Right? I mean, it's just it's
unreal.
An incredible weapon.
Well, and I'm looking up the text I sent you about Elvira's interview.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was quite something. Oh yeah, she was saying, I knew that missing 2 is nothing to worry about. That was today's race in the mass start. And I know I'm very good at this. So it's, that's a lot of confidence, and I mean, clearly, she knows what she's talking about. But
I think and I want to compliment you too, because you mentioned this as well, that it's not just the skiing and the confidence, but she just sort of looks very self-assured, like just like there's nothing new about this. It's like, all right, yep, I did it. What's next?
But I thought about that later. Up till next season, and it could just be me, but she always, when you saw them, she felt like the little sister of Hanna Oberg.
Mm-hmm.
Where now, I mean, Elvira was being interviewed, and Hanna came by, and I don't know, probably just looking for things, but it seemed that balance. And I mean, Hanna obviously didn't have a very good weekend, but or week. But it's from what I can see, she looks to have matured or professionalized or whatever you want to call it. But
she is.
We'll see how it develops. I mean, she's going to really be depending on her skiing throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if that fades away, I think she might be in a bit more trouble. But because I don't see her, like, I'm sure she'll have a race where she'll shoot clean, but it's not going to be the standard for
Mm-hmm.
her, I think.
And look, let's be honest. We have seen the Swedes do this for how many years in a row, where they come out in the first couple of weeks and look unbelievably fast, and then they are not able to sustain it because nobody can sustain this for that long. So she might fade, and that would not be surprising. But
probably would be
even
good
if
for
she,
the
even
sport
if she
too.
fades a little bit, she's still going to be very, very fast.
Yeah, if she keeps this up till January included, then gonna be a short season, at least for deciding.
But she could amass a huge, especially as we mentioned, like with some of those other top potential contenders not in good form right now. She could sweep up a whole lot of points.
Yeah, although we should also not forget that even if Tandrevold and Vitozzi are going to be out for a bit longer, when they do come back, they're still going to be really strong competitors, right?
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully.
But I mean, the longer it takes, I think the more likely it is that they're going to focus on the World Championships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can't blame them.
No. Anything else that stood out? I mean, obviously we have Sodorovic of the Polish team. That was pretty darn excited to see her get into fourth.
Yes. We had a couple of really great fourth place finishes too, because Natalia was obviously fourth, and very excited about her. I was really excited about that. Joked with Tobias afterwards that what was the celebration like, and our friend Biathlon Stats mentioned, goes, well, he's got to wake up from the celebration first. And Tobias responded to that and said, yeah, that was kind of the case. So it sounds like he went and had a little celebration with the guys in the wax team, because that was nice. that was a heck of a performance by.
And I think Maka was 21st.
Yeah,
in that same race,
she had a good day as well. Yeah. And to be fair, I think Jakiela also was 21st in the sprint, different race. But, the Polish women had a pretty good all around weekend. Just combine that with their relay from the first weekend, and it was a good start. And nothing to be upset about in the Polish team right now.
No, it's looking promising for sure.
But I was going to say also in that race,
Ermit.
You hit the nail on the head. Was Ermits.
Yeah, 8. And fast. She skied fast, eh?
Very fast. Yeah. I would say very fast, but relative. And you did not watch that race live. And I texted you about, I don't know, 3 or 4 times during the day. I was like, have you seen the race yet? It was specifically about Ermits that I wanted. I was so excited because we had both talked about how excited we were for her for this season, and then she comes right out, and in the very first solo race, she goes out and gets a top 10, and it was like, see, we were right. This is our girl.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. Deirdre Irwin 15th.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
it's also a good start for the season. It was kind of shocking, Tandrevold 17th and being the best Norwegian in that race, right? I think Naughton had a big meltdown with 4 or 5 misses.
Naughton, she had a nice rebound in the sprint, but the Norwegian team. Can we stop and just take a minute and talk about the Norwegian women right now?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what they're going to do. It has been I mean, Naughton had she had a 5th place in the sprint, so let's credit where credit's due. But Tandrevold is going to be taking time away, and Juni didn't look great, and I don't know. Emily Kalkenberg didn't look sensational. We're going to give Gru Renby some time to develop. Is it Marin Shirkaidi? Was okay, not. But I think that when you think the Norwegian team, you expect a certain standard, and it just
this wasn't
quite there. No. having said this, they're going to come back and they're going to stun us the next 2 weeks. So, but
No, but I was disappointed with Arnicleave. She did not have a good week.
Nope.
Yeah. On the other hand, the Swedes had a pretty strong week.
Did they ever?
At Heidenberg, Anna-Karin Heidenberg.
Yeah.
Anna Magnussen had a pretty good first week or World Cup. Even today, she looked. She had a chance, and she just faded down a little in the end. But Halvorsen showed she was coming back to reality a little bit today. But overall, just performance was awesome.
What about Sarah Anderson?
Sarah Anderson,
21 years old.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so funny, right? Because it feels like it's really not that long ago that we talked about what's going to happen with the Swedish team once, Elvira is still there, but some of the participants were not getting any younger. Hanna Oberg, Magnussen is not that old, but I mean, still has been around 29.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But here's it's Halvorsen is 25, is not super young, but then Anderson 21 and Heidenberg 24. So
definite. I mean, and then what is Elvira? Elvira is like 25, 26 too, right?
25. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a nice core when you think that Len Jesblom Pearson is not racing this season. Mona Brorson retired. So there was a chance that the team could take a step back, and instead they just sort of reload. And they just found new talent.
I know. Isn't there another Swedish woman that I'm? No. Oh.
That was it for this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they put what? Did they put 5 in the mass start?
The Swedes, I think, had 6.
6, yeah, because Hannah qualified based on last year.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Anna Karen Heidenberg got herself there. Sarah Anderson had just a really good weekend. I think she was 13th today, 7th in the sprint. I mean, she looked completely up to the moment. Not just up to the moment, but like she's going to be very, very, very good for a long time. I think the Swedes have to be very happy.
Yeah, no kidding. It, as a whole team, I mean, Hannah was actually the only one that kind of disappointed.
Yep.
Right.
And she's coming off the sickness, so hopefully that's just a matter of her getting her form back, getting her legs back.
Yeah. Another team that had a pretty decent week, especially given the fact that the two that you would rely on a lot were in the current standings are the 4th and 5th of that nation, and I'm talking about France. Yeah. So we have Lou Jean Monod in 3rd, but then Océane Michelon. Man, what a performances from her. Jeanne Richard, and then Guillaume Gigonat, who also, I'm pretty sure she's the younger sister of Antoine Gigonat, right? Who also, I don't know, I saw him on the IBU Cup, and then all of a sudden he's back here, and he had some great races.
Yeah, he just popped right in and looked good again.
I mean, for him, maybe not so good, but for coaches, it must be awesome to have a guy like that is on the IBU Cup, but when you need him, he's there, and it's not like he's going to be 90th, right? Or if you have to put him in a relay or something. Yeah.
Came up and immediately got 10th in the sprint, and he was in the mass start. So certainly a good weekend. I think overall the French have to be ecstatic with how the weekend went. I think you mentioned the women. You will expect Simone and Briza Boucher to come back a little bit. Jean Monod is going to be contending for yellow all season long, and then the one who sort of you didn't mention was Sophie Chavot, who has been so fun to watch the last couple of years, and she may be on because the French women, just like the Norwegian men, have that extra bib. Right. So they, after Hochfilzen, are going to have to cut down to 6. And then you even have on the IBU Cup Paula Botte, who already has a couple of wins and has been looking very good. And so Chavot is going to have to.
They have a good balance too. Like Reza Boucher and Simon are 28, and then you have Jean Monod 26 in the middle. You have Michelon and Richard both 22, and Guy Gounod 26. So, and sorry, the girl that you just mentioned,
Chavot.
Chavot is what, 23, 24?
Botte, Paula, and on the IBU Cup.
No, I meant Chavot.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, that's an exciting team.
No kidding. Yeah,
Germany,
7th, 10th, and 17th.
Tanheimer popping up out of not out of nowhere, but and Grosjean is she still sick?
No,
I know she missed some race in the first week, right?
Yeah, but she raced in the sprint and she had 4 misses, 5 misses, something like that. But she had like the 4th fastest course time. So, speed is there. When she hits, she's going to be up there too.
Mm-hmm.
And when you mentioned the Germans, so Tanheimer especially, right? Tanheimer, she's 19 years old, and already finishing 5th today. I think she had 2 top 10s this week, which is just outrageous. I mean, she's.
Well, I was telling Lucas, we were watching, and I'm like, that girl's only 6 years older. Not that my boys need a babysitter anymore, but she could be their babysitter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's, and I'm like, and she's competing at the highest level in the world. And I mean, I'm sure at that age, she's going to have her ups and downs, and maybe she'll be sent back at some point and maybe not. But, I mean, she's in 10th place in the overall score. So.
Yeah, she's going to get set down. But no, I mean, she looked so good. It did not, I mean, she didn't look overwhelmed at all.
And that is interesting because I feel that almost with any German athlete that comes through to the World Cup, like especially, was it last year that they had like 2 or 3 that on their debut were like in the top 10 or something, like they performed really well.
Including Tanheimer, yeah.
They're definitely doing something really well with, I guess, mentally preparing them for that next step. And I mean, most of them, from what I have seen, they do pretty well in the IBU Cup. So it's not like they're not used to success. But I mean, it's going to be quite different to be on the IBU Cup or World Cup. That's more pressure and more noise and more things happening and. Probably a bit more attention from the German TV. So,
yep. How long until they're the next Magdalena, right?
Yeah, I hope that they don't do that because I think they've I wouldn't say ruined, but they've put a lot of pressure on other athletes, and it wasn't too long ago that her name escapes me, but she had short hair and it was always in a different color. A German as well. And I thought not that long ago I read somewhere that because she was supposed to be Kadi Wilhelm? Anyway, that there was always, as soon as you did well in the younger levels of biathlon in Germany, there was always like this instant, is this the new Dahlmeier or Neuer or Neuner? So I hope that's because that's quite the expectation. Like,
because how many? I mean, just in the last 2 years, I think we've seen. I mean, Selena Grosjean has been saddled with that expectation. I have to imagine Tanheimer's getting that treatment this week. I love them. I am very excited about their potential and. Right? I mean, it's a young team. The Swedish have a young team. The French have a young team. And they're going to be battling it out for years. Going back to the Norwegians for a second, I'm sure there's a little bit worried about all this young talent on these other teams because they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But
I can't imagine that they wouldn't have a couple of young ones.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up, right?
But
I did, I think that was on Extra Runde, but I'm not sure. That they were saying that the the number of kids signing up for biathlon basically in Norway is declining.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, it could be that, especially at a young age, your goal would be to be on the World Cup, and if you see that people like Dale or Christensen or are so good, and they have one bad weekend, and then they have the risk of being sent down. And then there's all these guys that are basically grabbing all the trophies and racing each other in the IBU Cup, yet there's just no spot for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
That's true.
We're probably talking of, let's say, 1 million. I think Norway doesn't have a super large population, but they probably still have a really large proportion of kids joining biathlon, but just less than previous years.
I'm not going to be too worried about it until it shows up. And
no.
The first time that they don't have the first, the top 4 in the
They're
IBU
not in
Cup
the top
overall, 10. Then I'll be worried.
Yeah.
But how about Franziska Preuss, though? That is who I wanted to mention.
I wrote down a healthy Preuss is flower time.
Yeah.
Right?
5th, 4th, 3rd. But 4th, by the way, by 0.1 seconds. So that's just a classic Franziska Preuss thing to do, is be a fraction of a second away from either 4th or 1st. She looks good
to see her.
She looks very, very good.
I mean, she always looks good. It's
staying healthy.
I wouldn't say it's a given, but one healthy season and she'd be right up there. Like if she would actually win it, I don't know, but
I mean, if you told me that end of the year she raced a full season, if you told me end of the year she races a full season, then my expectation based on what we've seen is that she would be top 5 in the overall.
Oh yeah,
I mean, correct?
Yeah, probably more than that.
Yeah, I mean, she's so good. She's going to be one of those people that at the end of her career, not even beyond the end of her career, 20 years from now, people will look back and they won't really remember her. And I'm not going to be like, Franziska Preuss was amazing, but like, she's going to be much better than people remember. It's just because she didn't race enough to accumulate the total number of wins and podiums and things to stand out long term.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, they look at the results and they're like, yeah, no, she was pretty good. But she's always had that potential really for so many years.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Czech Republic had a great week. On the women's side in particular. I was so happy to see Davidova win her race. They were saying first in 2 years.
First in 2 years. Yep.
But to see her like jumping around and during the interview she could barely stand still and stuff, that was pretty sweet to see.
She was so happy.
Yeah.
It was so fun. She was on top of the world. She should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I mentioned this in the last pod too, that Yuslova seems to be getting back to the level we've seen her before. So, and how about the Belgian team? Luckily, 3 pretty good results. Maya Klutens, 46 and 23rd, and Yves Bouvard, 37 and 61st. So, got into the points already.
Yeah. Maya Klutens had her career best in the sprint. That 23rd place in the sprint, career best by far. So
another career best, I'm pretty sure, is Pascale Paradis. We've mentioned her name, Canadian.
Yep.
And got 34th and 53rd.
Yeah, she's gonna be good, man. I'm so excited about her.
It's.
By the way, we'll mention this again in a minute, but the Canadians on the IBU Cup, Benita Pfeiffer and Emily Dixon, are having a pretty good run of it right now. So, they're the Canadian women. I just keep an eye on them. Going back to the Czech squad for just a minute, Vyacheslav Hornig in the sprint, he finished in 22nd, and that was his. That was definitely a huge career best. Just wanted to mention him because his ski improvement this year is pretty outrageous. So his average course time rank last year in his World Cup races, which that was the best skiing year of his career, his average ski rank was 65. So far this season, in just 3 races, his average ski rank is 19th. He has just immensely improved as a skier. And he's always been a pretty good shooter. 90% last year. He's hitting 84% this year, usually in the mid 80s. But if that skiing is for real, I mean, he's only 25. That is sort of just a new guy to keep an eye on. This week, he finished 27th in the short individual, 22nd in the sprint, and then 15th in the mass start. Of course, the mass start only 30 people, but still, he beat half of them. And those were all 3 his career bests. So that's not bad.
Well, that makes me, it's a little bridge to something I wanted to bring up later. So on Real Biathlon, there's a stat called performance score, which basically looks at ski time, shooting percentage, and range time. And it ignores rankings, doesn't look at, what the result of the race was. It just looks at those stats, equalizes them per race distance to determine the effect on the overall performance. And Vítězslav Horník was the one that is currently in the top position for improvements compared to last year. And again, based on 3 races, but it totally
very good.
Lines up with what you're saying. Yeah. And that's good because, we always had Schleckli. And it's good to see that there's another Czech on the men's side.
Yes. And I keep waiting for Tomas Makiska. He'll show up here in a little bit. But yeah, I this was an improvement I just was not expecting at all. It feels very much like an out of nowhere improvement. And remember they had the coaching changeover, and so I'm wondering, seeing Davidova win, for the first time in a couple of years, and Hornig, having this improvement. I wonder, and I'm sure it's more than just this, but if there's just something about a new voice coming in just to change things around. Not that the old coaches were bad, just that the new coaches.
Oh, but it's just new blood, right? You see it in soccer all the time. They bring in a new coach, and it just changes I guess sometimes things can spiral a little bit downward, and then if there's new, fresh blood, no matter, like you said, if they're actually better coaches or not, but it usually seems to have a short-term but positive effect.
Yeah. And, we know what Marketa can do. We know what Davidova can do, but hopefully this is just boosted her up a little bit back to that old potential. Because she's, easily a top 10 biathlete when she's at her full powers.
So, and I'm starting to jump from left to right and center. What I found shocking is that in the short individual, Anna Maria Lampic had 10 misses. Yet she still has the second course time of the race combined. She was only...
Well, it was the individual. She didn't have to do any penalty loops.
That's right. I'm mixing it up with another race from her where she also had... Yeah, so forget that, because that totally made no sense that I said that.
Can we talk about, I think, the star of the weekend? Suvi Minkkinen?
Which one? There's so many. Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, that if you had to pick one, she's the one, for sure.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Home in front of the Kontiolahti fans. It was Finnish Independence Day on Friday. Her birthday is today, just coming up, or just was. I've lost track
8th,
of it.
December 8th.
Yeah. Oh. So, and what a freaking weekend that she had. So she came into the year and she had one career mass start coming into the season. Well, she's doing a little bit better now. So she went 10th in the short individual, and that by itself was really exciting. And then in the sprint, she had, I think, her getting bronze, getting in third place for the sprint was as exciting as as Jean Monod or winning the short individual or Davidova winning the sprint. I mean, I can't express how excited I was. I've been a fan of Suvi Minkkinen for a couple of years now. This is like 4 years ago. I was like, if she can just, because she was quite slow, but an incredible shooter. I was like, if she can just get a little bit faster, it's going to happen. And then in the 22-23 season, she got just a little bit faster, and she went to 27th in the overall. And I was like, here it comes, our next great Finn. And then, of course, last year was a little bit of a step back. But this was beyond all of my wildest dreams that she would have a weekend like this.
Yeah, I mean, and even today, so I looked it up. So she had 166 races on the World Cup, of which 111 were in non-team races. Mm-hmm. And this was her first podium. And
my goodness.
I think we've had this before, where we always like, you see the regular faces on the podium, and for them it's more like, oh, I only got third. But for these people that have been around for so long, she started in 2017, and she got to her first podium. Like that's icing on the cake, right?
Oh yeah.
And now that I'm saying that, I want to go ahead.
She just looked so happy, and this is why you do it. It was her 109th race when she made the podium. Yeah. So you wouldn't have predicted. Nobody would have predicted that she was going to have a podium.
Been doing it for that long, there's no doubt that it starts creeping in your head. Am I ever going to be on a podium? So to achieve that,
and have just one career top 10 before that.
Thierry Langer from Belgium. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
I'll hold on.
The last thing about Suvi is that she had 3 of her top 12 ever ski ranks this week. So maybe it's just a one-time thing. Maybe she had the adrenaline from the crowd. But even if you take out the mass start, because it's a limited field, she still had 2 of her top 11. So it's happening. Nice. It is the Suvi Minkkinen year is upon us. Anyway, right? We'll do a Suvi Minkkinen check-in every week from now on.
Yeah, and sorry for trying to jump ahead, but Thierry Langer is almost in this aspect even better, where he had 137 races, of which 97 were non-team events, but he's been racing since 2009, and he did his first mass start that he participated in,
which is amazing. And he would have qualified even without the new like without having a mass start in the very first week. Like he would have qualified because of that 9th place he had in the
he got 16th, right? Yeah, 16th.
Oh yeah.
He didn't in this mass start. So
he didn't crawl to the finish. Like he proved he belonged.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. I love those. I love stories like that. It's just amazing.
And how about another very high finish? Campbell Wright.
Oh, I was. It's one thing to see one athlete that you're super, super stoked to see doing well, but then to have 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That you almost feel like, well, I want him to win, but I don't want him to win because that means the other one's not going to win. But man, oh man, that was a race.
That's totally how I was feeling. When he came through, when Campbell Wright came through and hit those standing shots, I seriously did jump out of my chair. And I was like, go. And he joked with us when we interviewed him about his head bob. And I was like, there he goes.
Yeah.
Oh man. And he clearly he left it all out there and he got 4th. And the photographer for the event had this amazing picture of him at the flower ceremony where everybody is looking at the camera except for him. He's turned and is looking at the podium, and you can almost like read his brain. It's like, I'm going to get there. I am going to be on that podium.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure he had some disappointment missing out on 4 seconds, but man, he seems the kind of guy that can quickly turn that into extra motivation. So,
so just speaking purely as an American, it's awesome to have a guy who can earn that all on his own. Like he didn't need a lot of help. Like he shot clean and got himself there. Right. Of course, having, JT Bow miss and those guys miss helps, but it's not like it wasn't like a total fluke. Got himself into the top 10, got himself into the podium conversation. Like he earned it. And I'm considering he was just sick a couple of weeks ago. I'm pretty hopeful that this is going to be, the start of something we're going to continue to see over the next, the rest of the year.
Well, and I mean, consider that he was 24 seconds and 27 seconds respectively ahead of Christensen and Tarje Bow. And even more Ligrit that all had won. So even if you take about 25 seconds off.
Yeah. Yeah, he was competitive with all those guys. It was fantastic. Very fun. And he's so young. Like even though they changed the blue bib from U25 to U23, like he still qualifies for the U23.
Yeah. But he's not leading there because Vitaly Manzin from the Ukraine he had an incredible. So many stories, like we said, but they had three participants in the mass start with the men.
I know. Yeah, Ukrainians. Who would have guessed?
The short individual, they had 4th, 10th, and 15th. In the sprint, 14th and 15th. And in the mass start, the best was 12. That's a pretty darn good first week. Right?
No kidding. Because they had Pedruchny and Dudchenko. Yeah.
Dudchenko, yeah.
Oh, man.
Jakob Fuck was up till the 4th shooting today. He was in the race. Biggest shock of the weekend, who would you say?
The biggest shock?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wait and let you answer it, and then I'll tell you my answer.
Simonator, 1 for 5 in his standing shooting.
Oh God, that's a bad shock. No,
and even
my biggest shock. We talked about him just a tiny bit. It's now almost 55 minutes in. Emilien Jacquelin. I think he listened to you.
Oh,
I think he read your piece.
No, the funny thing is, because when you look at him, he looks calmer shooting, and he looks as if he's taking his time.
Yeah.
And then I looked at his shooting time, and guess who's at the top of the shooting time? Emilien Jacquelin, 44.6 seconds in the sprint, only and 2.3 seconds faster than Adam Runnels, who we know the Canadians are fast shooters.
Fast. Yeah.
And then of the big names, Giacomel is probably the first around 10th or so in that list, 5.6 seconds behind. But I mean, maybe in previous races he would have been another 5 seconds faster. And I don't know. I mean, today obviously he had maybe the old Jacquelin a bit more, but yeah, that race he looked calm.
Well, and here's what I said after the race too, is that he looks calm, and he also just looks he looks comfortable in his own skin. I think that's the way I said it, is that he just looks like he's, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I got to do to be competitive, and maybe it's not what everybody else would do. Was that?
It did look different. Well, because the conclusion in my article about him was that maybe he should just keep doing what he's doing, because that's the way he is. But he to me he looked different in that, especially in that sprint, but also in the races before. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit calmer, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, we mentioned the French women. I think the French men also should be mentioned. I think, obviously Perrault is wearing yellow, so he should definitely be mentioned. Fillon Maillet didn't necessarily have the results until today, but he definitely is skiing well. I think it's just a matter of time until he gets a win at this rate. I think the French men, they clearly have this friendly but definite rivalry with the Norwegian men, and I think they can say that they came out pretty well after Kontiolahti.
I actually got a reply from Emilien when I sent him a message.
Yeah.
I said, it's funny how your shooting seems a lot more composed and calm this season, yet you are still so fast. Incroyable. And then he said, exactly. Now the job is to continue on this way. So, when was that? That was midnight our time.
He is reading it.
But it was before today's race, I think.
He is reading it.
So, super cool. It's funny because obviously he's not a surprise at the top, and he's one of the big names. I think he was fifth last year in the World Cup, but it still felt like someone new winning.
Yeah. Yes.
His excitement, and I'm not 100% sure what the finger in front of the mouth who that was. If that was more in general, the people that doubt him to say, here I am. I don't know.
Yeah.
But obviously he had a bit of what do you call that? A monkey on his shoulder. Hopefully that monkey is gone and he could just focus on doing what he does best. And
yeah, it feels like a phase 2 of his career. When he took that break a couple of seasons ago and came back last year, and it's like the first victory of this part of his career.
Yeah.
The French right now have it's obviously it's ridiculous. This is 3 races in, but 3 men in the top 5 of the overall. So yeah. Outpacing the Norwegians.
Yeah, although they have 2, 3, 6, and 7, so not too shabby either.
It doesn't matter. The French are at the top.
Yeah. Doro looked pretty good.
Yes. Yeah. Better than
unfortunately, she missed that standing shot in the 4th round. I forgot the race.
It was just today. She was right there in the. She still finished in the flowers. I mean, I was expecting this weekend. I was thinking, hey, if she can get a top 20 or 2, like that's a good weekend. Yeah, she did better than that.
I also wanted to mention you rightfully said that's a nice story that Lampage missed 10. Oh, now I can't find it. But she raced in the sprint, didn't shoot all that well either. She had 5 misses. Of course, a shorter distance, but her course time was 10.4 seconds behind Öberg, second ski time, and that's with 5 extra laps. So, and I'm not saying, see, I told you so, because I was off. I'll admit that right away. But her skiing is phenomenal, and there was another thing I heard in the news somewhere, German news, that she had made it very clear that she wants to ski fast, and if that means she has more misses, then so be it. But she's not gonna. It sounds like she doesn't want to slow down in favor of maybe better shooting. She just wants to keep skiing the way she is and figure out the shooting as she goes. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, she's not old, right?
Nope.
Yeah. Hey, look, if that's the way she wants to do it, it's going to be entertaining for us, because every now and then she's going to hit, and she doesn't have to hit all of them. We just saw with Elvira, hit 8 out of 10 skiing that fast, and you're going to get yourself up there.
Yep, it's in the cards for her.
Hey, can I mention a personal one? Lisa Hauser. She's definitely down a little bit from her peak a couple of years ago. All of last season, though, she only had 2 top 10s.
She's right back where,
coming out of this weekend, she already has 2 top 10s. Is she as good as she was a couple
of years ago?
This is the Hauser
we want to see, right? This is the Hauser that we have been wanting to see. Yeah.
So it's nice. I just I'm happy to to have her looking like that again.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to mention Vogt, who we did not mention in the German section, but she looked strong on the skis. Still a good shot, but she looks a bit different, like she was right in there. So I think last season she had one or two races where she had that kind of speed, but then it faded off again. So it was nice to see her have a couple of races where she did well speed-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Danilo Riedmüller clearly told the coaches that they made a good decision on including him in the team.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I would say he's solid on the team going forward. I don't think that he's going to be bumped off anytime soon. 4th place, you're doing okay.
And he's also not super young, right? So,
And speaking of, we'll talk about the Germans a little bit, when we get to the IBU Cup for our 2-minute IBU Cup update. But Simon Kaiser on the IBU Cup is actually performing very well. He's the top non-Norwegian. So there actually is a little bit of pressure coming from below that they do have to get in. Roman Rees is still down there. So those guys have to still keep performing because nobody's assured of staying there for right now.
No, and it's did they all score points this weekend? Narath had a one really good race at least.
Yeah, he had a podium. Strello was okay.
Strello shooting not really there, but he had a mass start 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Kuhn.
It's okay.
And Horn was also... But interesting, so I mentioned that performance score earlier. On the men's side, the athletes with the highest performance, well, negative is better, so the lowest performance score, I would say. On top, J. Thibault, Sturla Holmlegray, Perrault, QFM, Jacquelin, Christensen, and then Samuelson, who also had a actually pretty good weekend or week.
He really did.
And I was going to mention that Philip Horn is actually in the top 6 of people that improved the most compared to last season.
Oh, really?
When it comes to performance score. So his results don't really show it, but that's what I like about this performance score is that it still shows that athletes did well, even though the results maybe not reflecting that. But
yeah. No, I like that a lot. Use it to
sorry?
What, as I say, you can sort of pick out a few people. You can, if you see their performance score is improving, but the results aren't there yet, just to ID them to keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks and see, do the results catch up to the performance?
Right. I wanted to do a shout out to both Anna Gantler and Baiba Bendika. Mm-hmm. Probably did not have the start they were hoping for, but I have no doubt that they'll come back stronger, especially Anna in Hochfilzen.
Oh yeah,
close to her roots, and
she is definitely.
We all know Bendika. Baiba Bendika has the speed, and she can have the shooting as well. So,
absolutely.
Anybody else who you feel we should mention that we have not mentioned yet?
Alina Stramus.
Good pick. Yeah, I had her too, but
15th in the sprint. I just hadn't seen a lot of her in the last couple of seasons, so it's nice to see her name pop back up there again.
Should probably mention Stromsheim.
Yeah. What do you think? How would you grade his weekend?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. So,
because it makes you think, like, was the win a fluke? I mean,
no idea.
Seventh in the mass start is not something to be ashamed of, but
it's just so strange because he looked slow in the relay, I had pointed him. I was like, I don't know. Maybe he's going to get bumped off. Then he wins the short individual, and I was like, well, I'm an idiot. And then he finishes 61st in the sprint. Maybe he celebrated too much. But then he finished so it's 7th on the mass start. I don't know. It's like every other race, he's great.
And I may be mixing up races, but I remember watching a race, and I'm pretty sure it was the men's this morning, where a lot of the top guys came in, and everybody missed like 2 or 3, but Perrault was clean, and Perrault missed as well. It was just, there was like 1 or 2 that basically shot clean and went out. And it was just so weird. Like all the big names were missing 2 or 3. I think it was the 3rd shooting. And so it made me think, like, is there like a big wind change or wind gust or whatever? But then, you see this one guy lying right in the middle and he shoots everything clean.
So I pulled up the ski because this stood out to me, was the skiing in the sprint. He was 1 minute and 37 seconds slower than Samuelsen, who was the fastest. The next slowest Norwegian was Tandrevold, who was 38 seconds slower than Samuelsen. So he was a minute slower than than his next closest teammate in the sprint.
But he won.
No. That was the sprint where he was 61st.
Oh, the sprint. Sorry. Yeah.
And that's what's like, did he party too much? Like, did he celebrate the win too much?
Well, who knows? Could be skis and.
Well, that's why I specifically chose his teammates. Like, was it something? I don't know what brand he's skiing on, but
I think even in the team, and I don't know what brand. It's because they probably also choose their own grinds, right?
Yeah. That was just what a strange weekend. I still think, like, obviously he won a race, and that's incredible, but it was, I don't know how to explain it.
No. How about Ligrit?
He's solid.
Speed is not there, but it feels a bit
1
like
point out of yellow. I don't think I can complain.
Yeah, no, but it feels a little bit like that first season where he was, kind of in the background, but scoring points, good points every race, and I don't know if he improves on the skis, could end up being a pretty good season for him. So
he's got 2/3 and a 7th, I think. I think so. I think honestly, I think he's primed for another, top 3 if he gets the speeds back up a little bit.
If you're Ziggy, are you worried about JT Bow, or is this just normal start of the season? Normal
start of the season. He's skiing fast enough, and he'll get faster. This is more just the misses. I think he's got to get the rifle sorted out, and then he'll be fine.
Yeah,
he still almost came back in the in the short individual, right? Almost won that thing.
They got to feel like, when you're skiing ahead, you're like, what do I have to do to get rid of this guy? Like, seriously.
Well, in the sprint, right? He had those 2 misses in the sprint, in the prone shooting, and it was like, all right, well, he's probably not going to be his day. He ended up in 5th.
Well, that's. I think we talked about that, where those are often the people that end up winning the globe, right? The ones that when they have a bad day, they're still 5th, or like Sturla. When you looked at him, it felt like it wasn't a great week, but then 3rd, 9th, and 3rd, that will do. If you do that the whole season.
I know, it's so funny. We talk about, like, I don't really know how to feel about how their week went, and Sturla is 1 point out of yellow, and I think J2 Bow is 6 points out of yellow, and it's like, I don't know. Were they good enough? I don't know.
Sorry, you're probably not too happy though. Right?
Yeah,
only 10th.
Yeah. Hey, and here's the thing: is that still after this week, somebody has to go down, or just I shouldn't say somebody has to go down. After this week, somebody has to not race in the sprint and the pursuit at Annecy because they've already qualified for the mass start, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, who do you pick?
I'm not sure who that's
just
gonna be.
based on the scores. Dale?
Probably, yeah. It's going to happen to him again, isn't it?
I don't know, but I mean, Surim is only a year younger, so that wouldn't necessarily be the.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Surim was 3 years younger, you'd be like, well, we're gonna think of the future. But I mean, Dale is still young; he's 27. Yeah, I don't think that would be a very good thing for Dale if that would happen for sure.
That'd be really rough. Yeah. I don't want it for any of them. I don't want it for any of them, but I really hope Dale has a great weekend in Hochfilzen and can avoid that fate.
Yeah, it's actually it's interesting that I looked at the shooting from Sturla Holmlag, right? And he shot, I think he had 100%. Yeah, so the short individual, he shot 100%. Then he had 80 per own 100 in the sprint, and mass start 90 and 90. So he actually had a really good shooting, and I'm shocked to see that both Simonator and Justus Strelo weren't doing too well for their standards, which is pretty much, one miss, more than one miss is already like exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what was going on with Simonator, because I think, I mentioned he had 4 misses in standing, and then the race after, in the mass start, he had 7 out of 10 in standing. So, I mean, 3 misses is well below his
I think pretty
standards.
much he's not going to miss a shot for the next 2 weeks.
Or the rest of the season. He had all his misses.
Yeah. He's got to get that average back up.
Yeah. But honestly, you remember that season where he had 100 and 14 or something hits in a row? Like he's got more. He probably has missed more standing. Oh, that was prone shooting, but he's probably even missed more standing than he's missed in a whole season or something. Crazy. Hopefully he'll figure it out for Hochfilzen.
Hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Let's say before we go, I just wanted to take a quick look ahead at weather. So it was a little bit warm to start in Kontiolahti, but the weather the last probably starting around Monday or Sunday. I mean, whatever day it was that it snowed, looks much better. The tracks held up well, but we're about to head back into the warmer conditions. Hochfilzen actually looks okay. It's going to be just a touch above freezing during the day. It's going to be well below freezing at night. Track should be fine. And honestly, it is going to be gross. So it is already well above freezing by the time the races come around. It's supposed to be 5, 6, 7, 8 Celsius. I mean, it's going to be.
But that's 2 weeks out.
I know.
Honestly,
I'm getting nervous about it. But the reason I mention this is because the reason I mention this is because was it yesterday? The mayor said that he does not support hosting World Cup races there going forward, which is sad because I've come to really like the fans there and the venue there, and I know that it's a lower elevation and it's not the best for climate change and where things are going. It just is sad that we might be losing that venue already. Did
he say why?
The cost,
he
specifically mentioned climate change. Yeah. And I think what he was saying was that the cost of, trucking in the snow and making it appropriate for, a World Cup competition.
I will say though, for a event or weekend with crappy weather, Annecy is probably still the best, right?
Yeah.
They come out in drones, dressed up in rain gear, but they're there. I mean, there are a lot of other locations where the fans do the same, but because it is crappy weather there so many times, maybe it's less of a disappointment. People kind of just anticipate that that's going to be the case. No, I wanted to very quickly bring up some status change, I guess, and I don't really want to squeeze this in the end because it's way too important for that. But not that long ago, a couple of days ago in the news was that they did that questionnaire in the U.S. biathlon team, and I think I had it in front of me, but it's gone. But I think 88% of the men said that they feel free to speak their mind and if they have complaints or issues, but only 50% of the women said that. And I don't know, like I know that the wax tech, who just happened to be European, and does the European things, I suppose. He was supposed to come back, like he was suspended until December 2024, which is now sometime. And I've searched for his name. I can't find anything. I don't know if he is back on the World Cup or coming back this month. I don't know if that would be with the US team. That would completely shock me if that was the case.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that questionnaire was a follow-up on the situation that we have talked about about Joanne Reid. So in that sense, I think it's good that something came out of that. The result that came out of that is a clear indication that something needs to change. And we're definitely going to keep an eye on any news that we can find, if that's, if we get any information. Oh, I see here the survey showed that 92% of male respondents said they felt comfortable raising concerns about athlete safety. Only 52% of the women did. Women were far more likely to say they feared negative consequences to their careers for reporting misconduct, 57% compared to 8% of men.
Can't say I blame them.
And then 43% of women said they had observed conduct in violation of the USBA code in the past year, compared to 25% of the men.
Yeah.
So, still, yeah. I don't know what to say. I don't want to mention it, and it's from AP Reuters, so it's not like some weird newspaper. But I also feel I want to see things happen, and as a result of this, at least make a safer situation for athletes that are on there now or in the future. And to this day, I honestly can say it still makes me sad to know that Joanne Reid is not racing anymore. And that, it almost feels like life goes on. And I'm, who knows? I don't know her. She may be happy where she is now, moved on, maybe completely new direction. I don't know. But still, it's, you don't want to see any athlete exposed to that, whether directly or just being a, observer of it and feeling uncomfortable to either do or say something about it. So it's, yeah. Anyway, I wanted to.
I couldn't have said it better, and then I won't try to. But I agree. I mean, it's sad. It is sad that that there is a culture of, I don't even know the right words, but just that has obviously permeated the team enough that enough women have both seen things that shouldn't be happening and also don't feel comfortable bringing it up because they think something bad's going to happen. I mean, I think that's all you need to say, and it is. Well,
and I just find it shocking.
Clearly not something that should be happening.
I mean, obviously, I'm the last person they should care about informing, but the fact that you just don't see anything, and I'm not saying that whoever is on the board or the leader on the U.S. biathlon team should be kicked out, or it's just like, I don't know, that you would expect something to come out that's a bit more open than having to find some news on AP.
Yeah, right.
That's anyway. sorry to to having to leave on this negative note,
but I think it is reality and it needs to be discussed.
But as a follow-up, it would actually be, I think, would be really good to spread this type of interview to all the nations, and because we happen to know about this in the US now, but and I don't want to suggest that it's the norm in other teams, but it would really surprise me if the US team was the only one where something like this happened. So any ways to bring that forward and improve it, it's worth it.
I agree. I totally agree. No, I think you're totally correct. I think you're absolutely 100%.
That all said, it was a fantastic biathlon week.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it was the second week already, so because of that, I'm not feeling like this was the first week back, but it was, and it's super, super cool to see the races again, and we've already had some really close finishes. We already had some good surprises, some people that are close to us through interviews or other ways have done really well. So looking forward to Hochfilzen and see what that's going to bring us.
Absolutely.
All right, man. All good?
All good.
Then have a great week, and thanks everybody for listening.